To continue in the study of تذكرة السامع والمتكلم of Ibn Jamaah rahimahullah, we have reached point number 4 in this specific chapter of the manners of a sunnah in of himself. He says number 5, that he spreads out his time in his day and his night, or that he puts him into different slots, and that he takes advantage of that which has remained from his life, for indeed the rest of his life has no qima, no worth to it. What he intends here is that which remains of a person's life is two types. One, a type in which he will benefit from knowledge and righteous actions. Then this has a great worth in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and in the sight of the creation. Also, the second type is one in which he does not benefit knowledge and does not do righteous actions. Then this in reality has no worth to it and no benefit to it. So one should pay attention to his life and try to take advantage of that which remains from his life. He says the best times for memorization is al-ashar, meaning the end of the night. The end of the night, the time before Fajr. He says this is the best time for al-hifz, memorization. And it says for researching, the best time is the beginning of the day. And for writing, is the best time for that is the middle of the day. And to research or to come read and review, then the best time for that is at night time. He says, Al-Khatib said. Now when you hear Al-Khatib in these books, or you come across Al-Khatib, generally what is intended is Khatib al-Baghdadi. Similarly, if you see Al-Hafidh, what is intended is Ibn Hajar. And if you see Shaykh al-Islam, what is intended is Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah. Khatib al-Baghdadi rahimahullah said that the best time for memorization is al-ashar, the end of the night before Fajr. Then the middle of the day, and then around the evening. He says, and memorizing at night time is better, more beneficial than memorizing in the daytime. And memorizing at the time of hunger is more better and beneficial than the time of being full. And he says the best places to memorize in is al-ghuraf, the rooms. The rooms which there is no nothing hanging on the wall and nothing to disturb you or to preoccupy your mind with. And he says every place which is far away from that which deters you and takes you away from your memorization. And he said that it is not praiseworthy to memorize whilst fruits or vegetables are present, or vegetation is present, or greenery is present, or rivers are present, and the different noises and voices are present, because that takes away from one's heart not being disturbed most of the time. And this is a great point that he mentions here. Many brothers, you find that they want to memorize, they want to go by the water and memorize there. And perhaps they stop memorizing because they look at the water and they become amazed by it. Or they go to different places where there's nice scenery to memorize and they think it is silent and quiet. But in reality, their mind gets occupied with the scenery that is there. So this is important for us to remember, that one tries to memorize in a place where there's nothing to preoccupy his mind or to take away his focus from the memorization of whatever he's memorizing. Then he says, point number 6, from the greatest of means to aid someone upon understanding and not tilting away from seeking knowledge is eating little from that which is halal. Eating a little amount from that which is halal. Al-Shafi'i rahimahullah said that I have not become full in the last 16 years. And this narration of Al-Shafi'i that has not become full in the last 16 years is in a narration which is authentic to him rahimahullah. He says the reason for that is that eating a lot leads to drinking a lot. And drinking a lot, with eating a lot, leads to sleep. Leads to sleep and being tired and having laziness in one's body. And also due to that which is in it from being disliked in legislation. And the body being and it causing sicknesses to the body. As it is said, فَإِنَّ الدَّاءَ أَكْثَرُ مَا تَرَاهُ يَكُونُ مِنَ الطَّعَامِ أَوِ الشَّرَابِ مِنَ الطَّعَامِ أَوِ الشَّرَابِ. He says that the sickness, most of it that you see, it is due to food and drink, the poet he said. And this is something which is known, as he mentioned later on as well, that the Prophet ﷺ, he said, that the worst, Allah says in the Quran, وَكُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا وَلَا تُسْرِفُوا. Eat and drink and do not become extravagant and extreme in that. And the scholars, they mention as well that this ayah combines all of medicine. Now eating and drinking of itself, Imam Sa'id rahimahullah mentioned, its origin is that it is something commanded with. Not that it is merely permissible. You have to eat and drink to survive. So the origin of it is that it's commanded, that you must eat and drink to survive. So long as it could strengthen your body and keep you upright, then in that case, it is that which you're commanded with. So one has no choice not to eat and drink. One must eat and drink. And then he says, it is not, none of the awliya, the righteous and the scholars have been described with eating a lot. And it's not something they've been praised with, that they used to eat a lot. He said those who are praised with eating a lot are the animals, which have no intellect. And he says that the correct mind, or the sound mind, is more honorable than to cause it effect due to eating a lot. Due to eating a lot, because one knows when he eats a lot, his mind is not present, and he starts to feel lazy, and it harms his mind and his body. He says it is more honorable than to ruin one's mind due to lowly amount, or due to a amount of food. And he says if the trial and tribulation of eating a lot and drinking is using the washroom a lot, then that is sufficient enough to not eat and drink a lot. I mean, the one who eats and drinks more, generally he goes to the washroom more. This should prevent him, since using the washroom often is not something which is praiseworthy. But he said it is befitting for the one who is intellectual, or the one who has intellect and is smart and bright, that he protects himself. And the one who tries to seek success in knowledge and to reach his intents by eating a lot and drinking a lot and sleeping, then he's looking for that which is impossible generally. I mean, if the one who intends by seeking knowledge and trying to reach a good amount of it by eating a lot and drinking a lot and sleeping, then this is something generally which is impossible. And there's another point that it must be known, that you find some of the brothers that they start to study, they always want to hang out and eat and drink. They want to study for, let's say, an hour, then they want to go eat and drink. And you'll find that they're eating and drinking and eating and drinking, and they're having a good time. And they say that this in reality increases the brotherhood and whatnot. Yes, it may do so, but the one who wants to seek knowledge and reach high aspirations in it, then this is not the way. Rather, as the scholars mention, that the one whose mind is stuck with eating and drinking and sleep and intercourse in these things, then it's very likely that he will not benefit from knowledge, because his mind is always upon things that deter him from knowledge. He says that وَالْأَوْلَى, what is more befitting that most of that which he takes from his food is the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that if he has to eat, then let him take a third for his food, a third for his drink, and a third for himself, for his breath. He says this is what is more befitting that one takes, and should not surpass this. He said if he surpasses that, then surpassing it is a form of israf, which it goes against the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Allah says, "Kulu washrabu wa la tusrifu." Some of the scholars, they said that Allah combined in these words all of medicine. As for the narration of 1/3 for the food, 1/3 drink, until the end of it, this narration, some of the scholars differ regarding it, whether it's authentic or not. Some of them held that it's authentic. Here Shaykh Abu Amr al-Hajuri, he mentions that this narration is weak. And he mentions that Shaykh Muqbil rahimahullah, he mentioned this narration in his book of narration which have hidden defects, which from its apparent state look as if they're authentic. So this is something which the scholars differ regarding. Some of them held this narration to be weak, and others held this narration to be authentic. Nonetheless, as for the last statement of the author, the ayah that we mentioned, Allah combined in all of medicine, Shaykh Salih mentions that medicine returns to three things, to three principles. The first one is that it is to preserve one's healthy body and one's strength. Secondly, it is to protect one from the different things that harm it or that corrupt it, meaning corrupts one's health and one's body and strength. And then the third one is to get rid of that which is harmful from the body. Is to get rid of that which is harmful to the body. The first two, this ayah covers. I mean, the first two are covered by this ayah, preserving one's health and one's strength, and protecting oneself from that which affects it and harms it. Then he says, point number 6, that he has al-wara', that he holds himself accountable or holds himself account to al-wara', meaning that he leaves that which he fears will harm him in the hereafter in all of his affairs, and he seeks that which is halal in his food and his drink and his clothing and his living, his place where he lives, and all of that which he is in need of, and that which is those who are dependent upon him are in need of, so that could enlighten his heart, and so that his heart can be correct or upright to accept this knowledge and its light and benefit by it. And he should not suffice himself with that which looks from its apparent state that is permissible by the legislation, so long as he's able to do al-wara', meaning to stay away from it due to fearing harm in the hereafter. And if he is not in need of it, he leaves it. And he should not be from those who say but it's permissible, but rather should seek the highest level and follow those who have proceeded from the righteous cause, who had al-wara' in most of their affairs, even if they gave fatwa that this specific affair was permissible. And the most befitting of those who are to be followed in regards to our Prophet ﷺ, whereas he did not eat a date which he found on the street, fearing that it may be from sadaqah, whilst it was far-fetched that it was from sadaqah. And this narration comes in Bukhari and Muslim, from Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu in Bukhari, and from Anas ibn Malik in Sahih Muslim, that he seen a date on the floor, and what prevented him from eating was that he feared that was from sadaqah. As is known, Ahlul Bayt and the Prophet did not eat sadaqah. What's far-fetched that this was from sadaqah? He's showing here that a scholar or a student of knowledge, although there are many things that are permissible, he should distance himself from some of them. He should not be from those like the common folk as mentioned before. He should distinguish himself. He should not do everything that, although it's permissible, but it is more beneficial to not do, he should not do it. And he says, because the people of knowledge are followed, and knowledge is taken from them. If they do not use al-wara', meaning leaving off that which he fears harm in the hereafter from, even if it's permissible, then who will use al-wara', he says. And he says, befitting that he uses arukhas, the concessions, in its places when there is a need, and if there is a reason to be followed in it. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves that you come to his concessions the way he loves that you do that which he has commanded. And this narration comes from the Prophet ﷺ and is authentic, that Allah loves that you take that which he has given concession in, the way he loves that you do that which is he made obligatory upon you. So with this, inshallah, we'll stop today and continue next week, inshallah. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.